So what's stopping Scotland getting to that next level and finally winning their first ever Six Nations? Is it psychological? Is it leadership? Is it discipline? Or is the answer something a lot more simple that's been staring in our faces all this time? So I'm going to dive deep into the Ireland versus Scotland game and look at every single forward involvement in the attacking half from a team attack perspective for Scotland. Now, the last video I did looking at freeze frames in detail from particular games got some good reception, so I'm going to do it again, and this one was great fun, and I really found a bigger theme than I thought I would. When I watched this game, I thought Scotland may be a bit underpowered, they're not getting over the gain line. Then when you look at it in this sort of detail, it's actually really, really stark, and probably the biggest thing I think that Scotland need to work on. So before I start bagging Scotland in detail, I'd just like to reiterate, I love watching Scotland, I always say so, but there's something stopping them getting to the next level. And if it's any consolation for Scotland fans, you've got England's number, that is for sure. So enough about that, let's get into bagging them because it is actually really interesting. So I've literally gone through every single Scottish attack that involves a forward runner in an attacking situation, in a place on the pitch where I think they should be doing very well or setting up scoring opportunities. So let's get into it. First example, the first few minutes, we have a big carry by Pierre Schoeman. He is big, but he's not that explosive sometimes, and his carry goes absolutely nowhere, and a kick is the only option. And this happens quite a few times where they don't make gain line and then they go for the kick. 5 minutes in, and Ireland give away a line-out free kick, and Scotland find themselves in a fantastic scoring position, and they take a quick tap, and tight head Xander Fagerson is off, carrying the ball straight into his opposite number, Tadhg Furlong. Now, I'd just like to say the screenshots here are really poor. It looks amateur because I kind of am amateur doing this in my own time, but apologies. The streaming service doesn't let you do screenshots, so I had to take a photo of the screen, but hey, it's YouTube, it's amateur, I'm sure we'll be okay. Well, Fagerson has a decent body position and a good run-up, but Furlong stops him dead. You can see Fagerson actively trying to get himself to ground, but the incredible strength of Furlong holds him up, just long enough for the new muscle Joe McCarthy to join in the tackle, and he uses Furlong literally as an anchor to pivot and wrench the ball from the grasp of Fagerson. McCarthy has size to hold off Ben White, flip the offload to Dan Sheehan, and a really dangerous position is snuffed out even before the first phase. And I know this is just one example, but this sort of thing does repeat. And that was a huge moment. Scotland have to start attacking again from halfway. And from this, Scotland only try one forward carry before looking a little lost, and Russell ambles sideways and kicks aimlessly long for Lowe to mark without a care in the world. And of the first 3 forward carries, 2 of them they make one carry, then put in a terrible kick. And the last one they make a carry and get stripped before they even go to deck. So is it that they're not confident that they can outmuscle Ireland? Or maybe they're just right and they can't outmuscle Ireland. So let's carry on and have a look a bit more. On to the second attack, and it's a maul, and we're really getting into the unsexy stuff here, but that's what this video is about. Sticking with the beginning of the match, it's only 6 minutes in, and Scotland go to Christie in the line-out. Good throw, good catch, good lift, all of that sort of thing, and they try and set up a strong maul in their 4th attempt to set up some sort of attacking platform. Ireland only commit Porter, and again, Big Joe McCarthy into the fight directly. Peter O'Mahony is there hovering as well. It's a bold play, as if Scotland get this right, they could get some good momentum. But Rory Darge and George Turner, they're getting themselves set at the back of the maul, and Fagerson and co just collapse in amongst themselves, and then Peter O'Mahony gets involved with some push and shove. Big Joe smashes round and through the middle of a weakly bound Scottish maul, and Turner just goes sod it, tries to disengage from the whole mess, but another Irish bully boy, Andrew Porter, mugs him, and even before another attack has even started, it's been snaffed out. Porter even gets a jackal on the ball, Scotland go backwards, and they just about retain the ball, as all 6 Scotland line-out forwards, they're involved in some way, and only Porter and McCarthy really for Ireland. The rest of the Irish forwards then can just literally fan out, have a cup of tea, and wait to smash. They go one phase that doesn't get past the gain line. Ben White does some organising with our old friend the Caterpillar Ruck, and it's a box kick, and this time James Lowe has plenty of time to take the ball again. So only the first 6 minutes, some good chances for Scotland to set it up, and they've just been out-muscled, and it's been properly woeful. Anyway, time to get better, you think? Well, think again. Then on 21 minutes, the third attack for Scotland. Decent position. They go to a big pod of Scotland forwards. Both second rows and Fagerson just about make gain line. Then they move away from that power game straight away, try a quick reverse. Van der Merwe tries to do it all himself, gets isolated for just a second, but that's all that Josh van der Flier needs. So I know you could say this is a back's fault in Van der Merwe, but it does highlight Scotland's reticence to be patient with the power game and look to go away from the forwards literally at the first option. Then the fourth attack on 27 minutes, and of course it's set up by a back, this time Stafford McDowell with a brilliant play, maybe the best of his life ever. He goes through Bundyaki, one of the best tacklers for Ireland, hands off Crowley, who's a pretty strong fly half, and makes 50 odd metres. So this is good front foot ball. This is exactly where they need to use their forwards to get over that gain line. So they use big loose head Schoeman to get ahead of steam, but Peter O'Mahony, and yes of course Big Joe McCarthy, stop him dead. The two Scotland clear out there are supposed to give quick ball on a plate, but they have to work really hard to get rid of Peter O'Mahony. And then Doris further slows things down since both of Scotland's clear out forwards had to go off their feet to affect the clear out so the ball is exposed. Doris does well, has a nibble, looks at the ref. The ref probably thinks it's 50-50 but just warns him off it just so he doesn't have to make a decision. This happens all the time in rugby. They tend to favour the attack sometimes in those situations, just play the ball. But anyway, the damage is done. The super McDowell break has run out momentum and the entire Irish defensive line is set on the front foot, ready to advance. Now the theme is so clear once again. Scotland's first instinct isn't to go on to more power runners like most teams would do. Instead they go deep to fly half Finn Russell, who puts in another deep pass, which is wild. Scotland lose a stack of ground, but the point is they had great gain line ball. They could have piled over the gain line a couple of times, then gone to the fly half, but they go super early and all that initiative is lost. Anyway, they recover the ball and try to restart the team attack. They hit Dempsey in a pod of 3. It's not a bad carry this time. Dempsey's one of their better carriers, but he is stopped on the gain line. But at least the Irish defence is just about going sideways and at least not forward. So this could be a chance for Scotland to finally pour on some power, maybe round the corner like France would definitely do, and actually get over the gain line for once in this first half. But, of course, true to form, just after one decent or half-decent forward carry, they hit Russell again, and the forwards of Schoeman and Darge are just a decoy. And by this time, or maybe even before the match started, Ireland just know that forward phases are almost a one-phase thing, and then they're just decoys, and they know what they need to watch out for, that ball going to Russell. So true to form, Scotland backs do make the gain line, and the attack is back on because of the back line, and White hits the obligatory pod of 3 big boys, and of course it's just one forwards phase before Scotland try something different. This time it's a little box kick trying to pin Ireland back, so you can see that the Scottish backs are looking dangerous, but in this whole phase of play it's the forwards that have been just there as a way of continuing the phases rather than doing any damage themselves. Anyway, Ireland clear the ball, and this is a good spell of possession for Scotland as they counter-attack with the backs. So this is a really good phase of possession for Scotland. They should really do something with it. They counter-attack, they set up the pod of 3 forwards, but it's actually Dempsey who flips the ball out of the back, so they don't even use that big pod of forwards. They don't even use probably their biggest ball carrier in Dempsey. But Byrne is onto it. He's too smart to be fixed by this. He knows that Scotland like to move the ball wide and not use their forwards. So the 3 Scottish forwards have essentially just been used to ship the ball a little bit wider, and they're not carrying any sort of decoy threat at all. It's been half an hour, and we actually get our first decent destructive forward carry, which is crazy to think. 30 minutes gone, and we haven't had a decent carry. And it's their best forward of the day, Andy Christie, who was super impressive in defence as well. He's all pace and power, and he bursts between Dan Sheehan and Peter O'Mahony. This is more like it. They do wrestle him to the ground, but we can finally see that the Irish defence for once has had to turn and backtrack. This is what you want to do. McCarthy, Byrne and Van der Flier are rapping hard, but the damage has been done, and Scotland have quick front foot ball, kind of a 5-2 or a 5-3, but Scotland knock it on, and the chance is wasted. But the point is well made. Just one big forward carry puts Scotland in A1 position with their dangerous backs, and it was the first one of the match. If they could make more of these, just imagine the positions they could get themselves in. Now the 5th and final attack of the half isn't a good one, because Gibson Park manages to snag Russell off the scrum. Really good tracking from him. They try and restart with a pod of 3. It goes to their best carrier Dempsey, but he still doesn't make the gain line. It's Ireland's workhorses, Peter O'Mahony, Big Joe McCarthy with a stopping power, just showing you how important that grunt is rather than the flash. and then it's fumbled at the base. So a terrible attacking set for Scotland and just a terrible half of attack. Forwards wise, no phases really, just one with any real threat from Andy Christie. The good news for Scotland that their defence is really good and their backs are still dangerous, so they're still in the game, 7-6, but those forwards are just so badly used in attack and they're just so ineffectual as well. Now the first 9 minutes of this half is all Ireland, but then Scotland do get a good attack off the base of a scrum on 49 minutes. Nice carry from Dempsey, frees up Kinghorn on the right, and he makes huge metres. So decent work from Dempsey, as you can see from this analysis, is okay. I wouldn't say he's the best number 8 in the world, but he definitely gets him close to the gain line, sometimes over. But this is A1 attacking ball. This is exactly what you want. We've got the Irish defence retreating fast, but, and I can't believe how clear this theme is in this game, Scotland have a great chance to get forwards over the gain line. Andy Christie is arriving at pace with a big forward clear out. Cummings coming onto him, but of course they're ignored and the ball goes behind to Russell, which so much of the play goes through. Maybe he calls it on himself and they just can't ignore him, or maybe they practice this way. I don't know. Then you've got Gilchrist, who is of course used as another dummy, and it goes to Ashman wide. Now this is all good skill stuff, but that fantastic front ball has now been passed by. They're well behind the gain line. The golden opportunity to exploit the momentum is gone. Plus, because Scotland have been underusing their forwards all first half, these two forward decoys can hardly be used as much of a decoy, so they're not much surprise. And by the time the ball gets to Ashman, Porter and Furlong are back and set. They put in a massive double tackle, and then the Scottish attack is going backwards and the Irish defence is going forwards. To be fair, Scotland try and swing the ball back the other way with an immediate reverse, and it's one of their big forward threats, their best player of the match, Andy Christie, who gets hit out wide on a pod of 3. Big forwards again bypassed and he makes a half break and offloads, but it's messy. Dempsey does well to try and pick up and hand off Gibson Park, and they finally get back to the original gain line from that break. But Dempsey rushes it, forces the offload, and the recovering Gibson Park hoovers up. So this was a massive opportunity for Scotland, and because they didn't maximise that opportunity of front foot ball getting over the gain line with their forwards, all the momentum is gone and the chance is gone as well. Now on 60 to 65 minutes, it's a massive period of Irish pressure, and it's in complete contrast to what Scotland do. They make gain line all the time, they're happy to retain possession, and it ends up with Henshaw going over. That could easily have been a try, but he was held up. And on 65 minutes, the dam finally breaks, the power and the menace from Porter, who drives over. But it's the pod of 3 forwards that is a good decoy from a tap penalty. Because they've been using their forwards effectively all game, Scotland have to pay attention to them. Then it goes out the back to Porter, which is actually a surprise, and he bashes over. Then on 66 minutes, Scotland have a chance to build a good attack from a kick. They go for one pass to Matt Fagerson, but they go to the box kick straight away, so don't build anything there. So with time running out and Ireland dominating possession, Scotland have one more chance with a good launch play. Of course, the damage done by the backs, and they managed to set up their forwards how they want. They actually hit 2 sets of forward pods, and even though those phases aren't particularly destructive, just because they've moved the Irish around, there is an opportunity that Redpath spots. He goes through the middle of a ruck, he offloads to George Horne, and this is the final A1 attacking position. Ruck ball behind the Irish defensive line. So this is rare A1 attacking position for Scotland behind the Irish defensive line. Irish forwards are back tracking. We can see Tyg Byrne not back on side yet, but it's almost like Scotland are trying to make a video for me from this perfect situation, crying out for Scottish forward runners to carry on to get behind the gain line. Matt Fagerson arrives to this break quickly. He picks up the ball, and deep in his mind he knows he needs to carry on with the momentum, so he starts to run, and then he literally does a U-turn. Does he get a call from Russell? Is it something they've practiced? I don't know. I'm literally screaming at the TV. They go back deep to Russell, and you can actually see on this shot that Andy Christie and Rory Darge are ready to be quick run-out runners to get over the gain line if Matt Fagerson wanted to pass. So the options aren't there, and they've completely ignored them, gone deep to Russell. He goes wide to Ashman again, and finally they're back to the initial break line, but the advantage is again lost. The disorder has been lost. The Irish defence has been set. Scotland hit a pod of 3 forwards, but they don't get to the gain line. You can see this by Ashman getting up in the top of the picture. Yeah, Sutherland can't get over the gain line, but at least for this time, Scotland retain the ball in the attacking third. But on the next phase, Andy Christie gets double teamed from fresh replacements Ryan Baird and Jack Conan, and Scotland are going backwards. So that's 3 forward carries in a row, but none get over the gain line. They get hit backwards. Luckily, the Scottish backline is there, and it's just a bit of goal dust from Hugh Jones, literally from nothing, from a standing start. He does Peter Amani with quick footwork, accelerates with the line, sidesteps and scores. So at least they retain the ball and their backline got them out of trouble. But in many ways, it was a terrible attack when they completely wasted A1 front foot ball, but they got the ball to a back and he did something special. So the Hugh Jones try makes it 17-13, so it looks like a close loss. But I hope by this video I've illustrated just how weak and underused the Scottish forwards are in phase attack, especially versus a top defence. It's almost like Scotland are playing with one arm tied behind their back. Even though it's clear that the Scottish forwards aren't that great, I still think they've been underused and they could be used a lot better. We can also see when they've got momentum, they have a massive tendency of going back deep to Russell when really they should be using forwards or other options to get over that gain line. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think of this. I think it's a huge theme that I've identified here. Either way, Scotland need to improve if they're going to win a Six Nations, and sometimes the simplest answers are the best. As Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth, and Scotland need to punch people in the mouth just a little bit more. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this sort of video, please do like, please do subscribe. That'd be lovely. I'd love to know your thoughts below, and I'll catch you next time.